we're going to solve a polynomial inequality here. One thing you'll notice though is that it doesn't have 0 on one side anymore. So that's what we want, because if we can do that, then we can just go back to what we know how to do really well, which is to solve for roots. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all this, move it over. That's going to give us the 0 that we want. So I'm going to do minus x plus 6. That should give me 0 over here. Now again, at this stage, if you want, you can use a graphing calculator. That's not a big deal. But this should be pretty easy to factor out. This is x plus 7, x minus 6. So that means our roots here should be, oh, sorry, not 6. 1, sorry. So our roots should be negative 7 and 1. Now, I've got a few options here. Again, I could graph this, or if you know how the behavior works, you know it's this. So it should go from up to down to back up. Okay. If you didn't remember that, if you didn't have a graphing calculator, the other option would be to start plugging in numbers to see what happens. So we've got 3 zones here. You only have to plug in 3 numbers to see what's going on. Like we could plug in 0 because it's in this zone. If you plug in 0, you get a negative. So we go, okay, well, everything in here is going to be negative. If I plug in a number bigger than 1, like let's say 2. 2 squared is 4, plus times 2 here is 12, so 16 minus 7 is 9. Doesn't really matter what you get, but you know that it's a positive. So we would say, oh, okay, well, I've got a positive value here. And then I can plug in something like negative 8. Actually, I could plug it in here. It'd probably be easier. So negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1. Negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. Negative 1 times negative 9 is positive 9. Again, you don't have to plug in numbers here if you remember what the behavior is, or if you use a graphing calculator. But all that to say, this area right here is going to be positive, this area is going to be positive, and this area is going to be negative. We can tell that because it dips below the x-axis. All right? So let's go back to our original equation. It's saying, I want this to be greater than 0. In other words, I want it to be positive, or in this case, it's allowed to be equal to 0. So, looks like all of this is positive, including, we've got this where it's allowed to equal 0, and then everything from 1 and beyond. So anything from negative infinity to negative 7 inclusive, and anything from 1 to infinity is going to be a solution here. And again, if we had gone negative, it would have been anything from negative 7 to 1 would have been our solution.